Yeah. Did you support the refusal to release your conflict of interest forms?
Well, Senator, if I can say, my understanding of the forms you're talking about are the forms that I might have signed when I first started. Are they the forms you're talking about?
Well, I don't know how many conflict of interest forms you've signed, but the request is for the conflict of interest declarations you've given. If you've done it more than once, well, then I assume it's about if you've done it multiple times.
No, I'm just asking.
I don't know because
I
haven't seen the documents because they've been refused.
Well, I don't believe that they're called conflict of interest forms. I think they're called interest forms. Are they called
public office? Public trust, but complete secrecy? Watch what happens when Australia's Antisemitism Envoy is cornered in the Senate over hidden conflict documents, a privately funded staff member, and active directorships she claims she forgot about. This is Estimates at its absolute boiling point.
Oh, okay, thank you, and I'll share the call.
Thank you, Senator Black. Senator Shoebridge.
Well, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Ms Segal, for your appearance today. Your conflicts of interest forms have been the subject of at least one Freedom of Information request that's been treated as a deemed refusal. It's now an appeal with the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner. Were you consulted by the department about the decision not to release your conflict of interest forms?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you support the refusal to release your conflict of interest forms?
Well, Senator, if I can say, my understanding of the forms you're talking about are the forms that I might have signed when I first started. Are they the forms you're talking about?
I don't know how many conflict of interest forms you've signed, but the request is for the conflict of interest declarations you've given. If you've done it more than once, well, then I assume it's about if you've done it multiple times.
No, I'm just asking.
I don't know
because I
haven't seen the documents because they've been refused.
Well, I don't believe that they're called conflict of interest forms. I think they're called interest forms. Are they called conflict of interest forms?
Well, howsoever described, the ones that declare any conflicts of interests or potential conflicts of interests that you have. This is a requirement ordinarily of every public office.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming you made such a declaration. Did you?
I did. I declared all my interests.
They are the documents. And you obviously know what the documents are because you said you were consulted about the refusal to provide them. So I'm talking about those documents.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So did you support the refusal?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I think it's in terms of the guidelines, they're private information.
Well, they're information that allows the public to see what a public official's interests are so that they can be judged whether or not in their public capacity they're acting in the public's interests or potentially also in another organisation's or entity's interests that the official has an interest in. Like, there's a clear public interest in having this disclosed. The minister's interests are publicly disclosed because that's how we operate. Yeah, there is public scrutiny of public officials.
Sure. Well, let me take on notice what has been refused so that we're talking about the same things, because I'm not quite sure where they are up to. So let me take that on notice. But my interests, if I could use it, those, when I started this role, are well known. They were very well known that I had been on various boards, because I think you've asked me and others have asked me questions about those other boards that I was on at the time. I don't think that it's not secret information, it was public information. So,
well, if it's not secret, if it's public, why do you object to them being published?
That's why I said I'll take it on notice what has been objected to, Senator.
Well, what's been objected to is the disclosure of your interest forms. You know that because we discussed it. You told me what they were yourself. That's what you've been consulted on, well, which sets out if you have board positions or former board positions, if you have positions with other organisations, if you have investments in entities that may have a potentially come across your work. That's what we're talking about. And why won't you allow the public to see?
Senator, if I could just make the point that Ms Segal is not the decision maker on this FOI. She was consulted, but the decision was a departmental officer, and there is, of course, a review process against that decision. Ms Segal doesn't have the documents in front of her, and I don't think it's I
never suggested Ms Segal was. I was asking about her consultation and what position she gave in the consultation. She was consulted, wasn't she, Secretary?
So
as anybody would be about their information.
Indeed, but my point, Senator, is that Ms Segal's input is an input to the decision maker. It's the decision maker's decision, and if you wish that decision to be reviewed, then there is a process.
I'm not talking about the review of the decision. I'm talking about Ms Segal's input into that process, which is a perfectly valid manifest Senate estimates. So, Ms Segal, I'm still at a loss as to why, when you were asked, you objected.
I didn't object, Senator. The question was, did I support the decision of the view of the decision maker at the Home Affairs, and I did support it. But
well, you see, the way it normally works is you're not consulted on the final decision. Your opinion is sought along the way. So were you given a draft copy of the decision from Home Affairs?
Senator, as I said, I have to take that on notice. It was some time ago and I don't recall, but I can certainly review it and have a look.
Were you asked about whether or not you supported the opinion of Home Affairs
Senator,
to not
I said I would
release it?
take it on notice.
Well, I mean, I asked whether or not you objected to the release. You said that you supported the position of Home Affairs.
Yep.
Now, it would be very unusual in the process for the delegate to have formed a position and then consulted you afterwards. That isn't my understanding of how the process works. So when were you consulted, Ms Segal? When were you consulted?
Senator, I think there's a temporal issue here. Ms Segal is saying that she supports what she now knows to be the decision of the FOI decision maker. You are quite right. The process is to seek input from the person whose information is being considered. And I think that I'm confident that my staff will have followed the proper process in their consultation.
So I come back to the very question that I asked, which got... I'll repeat it again. When you were asked about whether or not you agreed to the release of the information, what did you say?
Senator, I said I would take that on notice because I don't recall the order of things. I will investigate it.
I'm not asking about the order.
I will take it on notice, Senator.
Senator Shoebridge, I think Ms Segal has indicated that she's not in a position to respond to the details of the question you're asking. She's taken the question on notice.
In answers to questions from estimates last occasion, you said that you have specifically withdrawn from any authority or decision-making power within the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, or ECAJ. What is your role then? You say you have specifically withdrawn from any authority or decision-making power. Do you have any other role?
No, so the position in relation to the ECAJ is I was the president of it. My presidency finished in about November 23.
Yes.
Which was more than 6 months before I was appointed the envoy. But by the constitution of the ECAJ, the previous president is known as the previous president, and they have a previous presidential role of advice and consultation of what happened in the past, as you would appreciate. And so I am technically the previous president because that is the fact, but I have withdrawn from their normal procedure of consulting me and speaking to me, etc., etc. So I don't have any role within the decision-making of the ECAJ.
So you remain the previous president, and that's a formal role under the Constitution?
Yeah, by fact, okay, by fact. I can't be removed because there is such a technical term, but I have no role at all in their decision making.
Well,
And they don't consult me, and they've resolved that out of proper process and procedure for exactly the purposes that you are asking, because this role is an independent role, and I'm not part of the decision making of the ECAJ.
But the secrecy doesn't stop at hidden documents. Wait until you hear who is actually paying the salaries of the people inside her independent government office.
you say it's an independent role, but we also find out from your answers that you have, and I quote, an academic specialist from within the education sector is on loan from the ECAJ. This staff member reports directly to the Envoy and receives no direction or has any reporting lines to the ECAJ. Do they have a fully funded staff member? Do you have a staff member fully funded by the ECAJ in your office?
Yes.
How did that arrangement come about if you don't have any ongoing involvement with ECAJ? How did they turn up in your office?
Well, how did they turn up, Senator? They had an education function, I suppose, that wasn't being fully utilised. And I was assuming the role, and it was a proposal that was of mutual benefit, that I could take their person who would otherwise not be working effectively for them, and I would be able to utilise that person.
It was of mutual benefit. It benefited both you and ECAJ. Was that the view?
Well, for the person in particular, yes, Senator. The person would not be employed and be doing the job at ECAJ. And I needed a person with that expertise.
Did Home Affairs have any role in approving that?
Yes, Senator. It was all done through the proper processes.
Ms Foster, were you aware that this arrangement was in place in Ms Segal's office?
Yes, I believe I was, Senator. I believe Ms Segal discussed it with me before putting the arrangement in place.
Did Ms Segal go through a formal process? Is there a formal process for the approval of this?
Senator, I'd need to check with my staff. What I can recall is the discussion that we had about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just alerting the room that we have media in the room with us and seeking everybody's agreement for the media to down. Thank you very much. And all the usual rules apply, and we reserve the right to withdraw consent at any time. Thank you. Senator Shoebridge.
You see, Ms Segal, if you had no ongoing role with the ECAJ, I still can't work out how it happens that one day you have a fully paid ECAJ officer in your office now, in your anti-Semitism role. If there was no formal role, how did this happen?
So Senator, the agreement was established through an MOU, which my staff supported Ms Segal's office to establish. There have been a number of organisations and individuals who have wished to support the role of the Special Envoy. That's, I think, a natural thing, given the nature of the role and the nature of the challenge that Ms Segal has been appointed to resolve or to work on. And I have no concerns about her having assistance from members of her community in her role on a pro bono basis.
I'm interested in the whatever ongoing connection between you, Ms Segal, and this organisation that led to this happening. Was it part of a discussion you had with the leadership? I mean, how did it happen?
Senator, I kind of think you are trying to draw more out of this.
I'm just trying to find out how it happened.
Well, how it happened was the plan that I established. You might recall the anti-Semitism plan that my office put out has as one of its key features education, because I do believe that that is where we can make the greatest progress, is to educate community, educate at universities, educate within the system itself, so that the types of anti-Semitism that we are experiencing today can be pushed back to the margins through a greater understanding of where it is coming from. So a person with academic qualifications and experience in education, and particularly knowledge of the international expertise out there, was a very valuable person in my organisation.
Is
so
there any?
They did not have a role for this person, and it was a very valuable role for me. Having no ongoing role with the ECAJ does not stop me speaking to all the parts of the Jewish community. Part of my role and part of my mandate from government is to consult with the Jewish community. So I do speak to the ECAJ. I speak to the other bodies in the community, like the ZFA, etc. Speaking to community organisations does not show any improper connection, history or bias.
Did the government ask your advice in determining that the ECAJ would be the body that received the most recent funding under the budget? I think...
No, they did not.
Did the Minister for Home Affairs speak with you at all about the budget?
No, he did not.
Was this funding important in your mind?
Absolutely. It was a continuation or an addition to previous funding that had taken place.
So how is it that there was no communication with your office on it?
It's not a matter for me. It was a matter that for the government to decide how to fund security side of matters. The community. My role does not stop the community speaking to government or the government speaking to community.
Were you aware that the ECAJ would be the body to actually distribute the grant funds?
Well, only from the basis of... I had no knowledge of this particular grant, as I have previously said, but previously there had been grants of a similar nature to the ECAJ, and they had set up a process, a highly organised, articulated, documented process for distributing the funds throughout the community. So it's not an unexpected thing that the government would use the same process that they had used before.
Do you have any ongoing involvement with the ECAJ Harm Prevention Fund?
No, I don't.
The
in my role as envoy, you're speaking, in my role as envoy, I have absolutely no role with it.
I was asking more generally.
No.
The documents... There's a trustee established for the ECAJ Harm Prevention Fund. Are you aware of that?
I suppose so.
Yeah. And the documents on the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission identifies that for the trustee for the ECAJ Harm Prevention Fund, it has, under the heading Responsible People, it has Jillian Segal, Director.
Well, then they have just neglected to remove me from that, that registration. What would have been when I was President, that obviously I was in that role, but I'm no longer I have no active role, they don't bring anything to me, so I think that is an oversight on their part.
Well, this is a current document.
Yeah, but I was saying it's an oversight that they should have removed me.
When you say they should have removed you,
ECAJ should have removed me.
Did you resign from this position?
Yeah, I resigned from any active role in the ECAJ.
When did you resign as trustee for ECAJ Harm Prevention Fund? And if you resigned by way of some instrument?
When I resigned as having no further role in the ECAJ. So as I say, Senator, they may have overlooked that, but I think it's more of a technical overlooking. I don't sit in relation to the Harm Prevention Fund in any way, and they would have, in the period that I've been gone, which is a few years, I have not signed any documentation or returns to the ACNC.
Will you provide on notice when you resigned from as Director of the trustee for the ECAJ Harm Prevention Fund, and And
Senator,
also-
what I said was they may have neglected to remove me as a director. But
well,
when
well, you see, if you have the
I
right-
resigned, let me finish, please. When I resigned from their active role as anything to do with the past presidency, they should have removed me.
Well, this document says it's current as at January of 2026. You see, if you're a director, it's your obligation. You have a director's obligation to take action yourself. And I'm asking you what you did to affect what you say happened, the resignation. And if so, when did you resign, and in what circumstances?
Senator, I will
did
take
you
it on
resign?
notice, but I will inquire from the ECAJ why that is still on the register and why they have not recorded me as no longer involved.
No, Ms Segal, you as the director have the responsibility yourself as an office holder. What action did you take?
I
Not what action did another
I
body
resigned
take?
from the ECAJ itself, and I expected them to have formalised that through the Harm Prevention Fund as well. If they've not done that, it's an oversight on their part, Senator.
You would be aware that the Harm Prevention Fund is a separate legal body, correct?
Yes, Senator.
Yes. So what, if any, action did you take?
I think I've already answered that, Senator.
No, you said you expected another organisation.
The action I took is that I resigned from any further involvement with the ECAJ, which in my mind included everything, including the Harm Prevention Fund. But if they have not taken that formal step, I will make sure it is done immediately, but I will also check why it has not been done.
You see, it's for these very reasons that I think there would be a significant benefit if your conflict of interest forms and your interest forms were publicly available, to allow for these kind of matters to be seen in the course of public debate as a public officer. Do you agree that transparency is useful in public office?
Of course.
Right. Thank you for your assistance today.
Thank you.
An independent public watchdog or a massive conflict of interest. The paperwork says she's still a director. She calls it a technical oversight. Who do you believe? Let us know in the comments, hit subscribe, and demand transparency.